Today we're looking at a frankly unprecedented breaking story that's developing right now. It honestly feels like something straight out of a Hollywood thriller, but it's happening in real time out in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. Okay, let's dive into this.
Imagine booking the absolute trip of a lifetime. You know, a luxury expedition cruise to some of the most remote, breathtaking corners of the globe. You get on board, expecting to see gorgeous glaciers and incredible wildlife, but instead, just weeks into the trip, that dream vacation turns into a literal floating quarantine.
And the wild part? The reason for this sudden lockdown isn't a massive storm or some mechanical failure. No, it's a biological threat. A rare, highly dangerous, and yes, deadly pathogen has been identified right there on board. So suddenly, the stakes for everyone on the ship have gone from recreation to sheer survival.
To make matters even more complicated, they can't just, pull into the nearest port. The ship is currently caught in this massive diplomatic standoff, totally stranded off the coast of West Africa, while government officials literally argue over what to do with them. And sitting right smack in the middle of this logistical and medical nightmare are the passengers and crew. Almost 150 people are currently marooned out there off the coast of Cape Verde. Now that number, 150, that's the human heartbeat of this whole crisis. We aren't just talking about abstract maritime law here, we are talking about 150 actual lives just waiting for answers.
Part 1. Crisis on the MV Hondius. The outbreak unfolds. Now, what's really interesting about this next part is how quickly things escalated.
To see exactly how a remote luxury expedition suddenly turned into an urgent medical emergency, we really have to look at their timeline. The Hondius set off on April 1st from Ushuaia, that's way down in southern Argentina, and from there they embarked on this incredible, deeply isolated route. We're talking stops in mainland Antarctica and then the incredibly remote Atlantic islands of Tristan da Cunha and St. Helena. I mean, you are days away from any major medical facilities in these waters. And currently, after this outbreak was detected, the ship is just marooned off the coast of Cape Verde, West Africa, all because local authorities have refused it permission to dock.
The human toll here is very real, and honestly, it's quite somber. So far, the World Health Organization is reporting 8 total cases linked to the ship. Tragically, there are 3 confirmed deaths, a Dutch couple and a German national. The severity of the situation actually necessitated the medical evacuation of 3 passengers who developed acute symptoms. We also know a British man is currently fighting the virus in an intensive care unit down in South Africa. And this is fascinating. A brand new case was just discovered in Switzerland. How did that happen? Well, a man who had previously traveled on the Hondius got an email alert sent out by the cruise operator, realized the danger he might be in, and promptly went straight to the hospital in Zurich, where he's being treated right now.
Section 2. Understanding the Andes strain, the science.
So what exactly is happening to these passengers? To understand the real fear surrounding this ship, we need to calmly look at the biological culprit behind all these headlines. Testing actually confirmed the presence of HANTA virus, specifically a variant known as the Andes strain, which is found in parts of Argentina, which, if you remember, is exactly where the ship originally departed from. Now, typically, HANTA virus is contracted through contact with organic matter from infected rodents. It is potentially fatal, and there are currently no known treatments for it. But here is the absolute critical detail. The Andes strain is uniquely capable of human-to-human transmission. That specific trait is exactly why this is such a major concern for a contained, closed environment like a cruise ship.
But hey, before we go sounding the global alarms, let's look at how it actually spreads. WHO epidemiologist Maria van Kerkhove made a really vital distinction here. When we think of viruses on cruise ships, our minds immediately jump to the flu or COVID-19, right? Airborne viruses that just tear through ventilation systems and shared spaces. Well, this HANTA virus strain does not operate like that at all. It's only transmissible from person to person through incredibly close, intimate contact. Think sharing a bed or sharing food.
So the crucial point is this. Despite the really tragic loss of life on board, the World Health Organization repeatedly stresses that there is a very low threat to the general public from this outbreak. It's a localized, contained tragedy. It is not the start of a new global pandemic. There's really no need for any unwarranted public panic here.
Part 3. A ship without a port, the geopolitical limbo.
But just knowing the science doesn't automatically solve the massive logistical nightmare. The Hondius is still completely stuck. Right now, the vessel is caught between conflicting authorities. So the Spanish national government in Madrid declared that the Canary Islands would accept the ship, intending for it to make a 3 to 4 day journey there. However, the regional government of the Canary Islands is fiercely opposing this move. Regional leader Fernando Clavillo stated that Madrid's decision just lacks technical safety criteria and doesn't provide nearly enough information to guarantee public safety. He's actually even requested an urgent meeting with Spanish Prime Minister Pedro Sanchez over this whole thing. And while Madrid technically has the legal authority to overrule the regional government, this intense political friction basically leaves the passengers floating out there without a definitive port.
Now, while the politicians are busy debating, the actual medical reality on the water has to be addressed. Currently, there's literally only one medic on board the Hondias, managing this entire crisis for the roughly 150 people. But help is on the way. The cruise operator Oceanwide Expeditions, along with the Dutch Foreign Ministry, are coordinating to send 2 specialized infectious disease doctors from the Netherlands. They're due to board the ship very soon and remain there to provide some seriously crucial medical reinforcements.
Section 4. Life aboard the ship. Calm amidst crisis. Let's actually zoom in on what the passengers themselves are experiencing.
So, we've talked about the science, the numbers, and the politics. But what is it actually like on that ship right now? Well, we have some incredible insights from a passenger and travel blogger named Kasim Hato, who is currently stuck on the Hondias. And what he shares brilliantly illustrates the sharp contrast between the dramatic, flashing headlines we see in the news and the actual calm reality playing out on the deck. According to Hato, there is absolutely zero panic. Passengers are methodically and quietly just doing what they need to do, keeping their distance and masking up.
In fact, Hato points out that the passengers aren't even being forced into strict, mandated lockdowns. They're just voluntarily following the recommendations from the ship's captain, who, by the way, has been doing a great job keeping everyone well informed, to limit close contact and sanitize. The mundane, everyday reality of this crisis involves passengers basically passing the time safely reading, watching movies, and drinking hot tea while they sit around and wait for the diplomats to figure out their ultimate fate.
Which really leaves us with a lingering structural dilemma. As we watch the MV Hondias wait for permission to dock, it forces us to ask a big question. When a rare health emergency strikes in international waters and public health fears collide with regional politics, who is ultimately responsible for bringing that ship safely into port? It's an incredibly complex overlap of international law and really human compassion. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer. Keep an eye on this story as it develops and keep questioning how our world handles the totally unexpected.